Senior archivist Zex 427 had processed thousands of planetary assessment files over their career, but nothing could have prepared them for Earth's data package. The small blue planets file had been sitting in their queue for 3 standard cycles, marked as a routine evaluation for an emerging spacefaring species. The first anomaly appeared in the basic wildlife survey. Their primary sensor cluster twitched as they reviewed the readings for what humans called a honey badger. The strength-to-mass ratios exceeded standard combat-grade augmentation levels. Surely a calibration error. They flagged it for review and continued. 10 minutes later, their office was littered with floating holographic displays, each showing increasingly impossible readings. A small aquatic hunter called an orca demonstrated pack tactics that rivaled military strategic systems. Something called a mantis shrimp could strike with the acceleration of a small spacecraft's point-defense system. Even the defensive capabilities were extraordinary. The humble tardigrade could survive conditions that would disable most shielding systems. Senior analyst, please report any critical findings, chimed the automated reminder. Zex 427's appendages trembled as they composed their response. Request immediate peer review. Possible systemic sensor malfunction across all Earth survey data. They transmitted the message, expecting a quick confirmation of equipment failure. Instead, their door whispered open 30 seconds later. Chief Archivist Ven 890 entered, their ceremonial robes swishing against the polished floor. "Show me," they commanded. Zex 427 gestured at the displays. "Chief Archivist, these readings cannot be accurate. Look at this creature they call a peregrine falcon. Its diving speed would trigger orbital defense warnings on most worlds." The Chief Archivist's sensory frills extended fully as they absorbed the data. Access their historical records. Perhaps these are recent genetic engineering achievements. More displays bloomed in the air as Zex 427 pulled the requested information. "No, Chief Archivist. These are natural evolutionary outcomes. The humans classify most of these as normal wildlife. They keep some as companion animals." "Companion animals?" The chief's voice carried a note of disbelief. "You mean to tell me they live alongside these beings?" Zex 427 projected a new image. A human child at something called a petting zoo, calmly feeding a creature that could easily crush their bones. Another showed humans swimming alongside massive aquatic predators for entertainment. A third displayed them keeping pack-hunting wolves as household guardians. "The implications are concerning," the Chief Archivist said slowly. "If these are their companions, what are their weapons?" "That's the most fascinating part," Zex 427 responded, calling up yet another display. "Humans have developed remarkable technology, yes, but they appear to have done so while carefully avoiding harm to their world's creatures. They create preservation zones, maintain genetic diversity banks, and actively work to protect species that could easily destroy them." The Chief Archivist was silent for a long moment, their primary eyes fixed on the image of a human veterinarian treating an injured predator. "Revise Earth's classification immediately," they finally said. "Add a priority tag for full council review." And Zex 427. "Yes, Chief Archivist. Begin documenting everything. If these humans have achieved spaceflight while coexisting with such beings, we need to understand how. Their world isn't just another life-bearing planet. It's an evolutionary crucible that has forged something unprecedented. A sentient species that thrives alongside natural wonders that would be classified as planetary threats anywhere else." As the Chief Archivist left, Zex 427 started a new file, their appendages moving with purpose across the holographic interface. The title glowed in the air before them. Earth, Preliminary Assessment. A world where everyday survival requires coexistence with the extraordinary. They had a feeling this was just the beginning of a much larger discovery. The message arrived at the United Earth Council's headquarters on a quiet Tuesday morning. Dr. Elena Martinez, Earth's chief xenobiological liaison, Read it 3 times before calling an emergency meeting. They want to what? Council member Zhang leaned forward in his chair, digital displays dancing across the conference room's walls. The Crystal Science Ministry has requested a series of cultural exchange demonstrations featuring Earth's wildlife. Elena explained, projecting the formal invitation for all to see. They're particularly interested in our apex predators and what they call survival specialists. Council member Patel adjusted her glasses, scanning the detailed requirements. They're offering to host the demonstrations at their primary research facility in the Centauri Neutral Zone. Full environmental support, security, and medical facilities included. Rather generous for a simple cultural exchange, John noted, his expression thoughtful. Elena nodded. Our intelligence suggests they've accessed the recent Galactic Archive's assessment of Earth. They're trying to verify the data without directly asking if it's accurate. The room fell silent as implications settled in. Earth's recent classification had stirred considerable interest among galactic species, but this was the first formal approach. The Crystal are known for their bioengineering programs, Patel said, pulling up their species profile. Their entire defense strategy revolves around created organisms rather than mechanical weapons. Elena activated another display, this one showing Earth's recent first contact protocols, which makes this request both an opportunity and a potential concern. They likely want to study our wildlife for military applications, but we've dealt with that possibility since before we left Earth's atmosphere, Zhang finished. Our conservation laws are clear. Exactly. Elena smiled. And more importantly, they don't understand what they're actually asking for. They think they'll be observing simple organisms. They have no idea what it means to work with truly intelligent wild creatures. The council chamber's displays shifted, showing footage from Earth's wildlife preserves. A pod of dolphins coordinating to help a wounded whale. Ravens using multi-step problem-solving to access food. Elephants mourning their dead. I propose we accept their invitation, Elena continued, but with our own additions to the program. Instead of just displaying our wildlife's capabilities, we show them why Earth's approach to coexistence is so important. Council member Zhang raised an eyebrow. You want to teach them? They're expecting weapons demonstrations. Let's give them a master class in understanding instead. Elena brought up her preliminary plan. We send a full team, handlers, veterinarians, behavioral specialists. Show them not just what our wildlife can do, but how we work together. Patel was already nodding. The diplomatic implications could be significant. If we can shift their perspective from weapons development to preservation and cooperation. Exactly. Elena's expression grew serious. They think Earth's creatures are ultimate weapons. Let's show them something far more valuable. They're ultimate teachers. The council voted unanimously to accept the invitation. As Elena prepared the response, she added one crucial detail, a request for the Crystal to share information about their own world's surviving natural species. That's an unusual addition, her assistant noted. Elena smiled as she sent the message. They're not the only ones who can learn from this exchange. Besides, she glanced at the latest images from the Galactic Archives, showing the Crystal's sterile, engineered environments. I think they need to be reminded of what they've lost in their pursuit of perfect biological weapons. As the message traveled across space, Elena began assembling her team. The Crystal wanted to see Earth's ultimate weapons. Instead, they would witness something far more impressive. Humanity's greatest achievement wasn't taming Earth's magnificent creatures, but learning to grow alongside them. The real demonstration was about to begin. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the holographic display in the selection chamber, watching footage of a giant Pacific octopus solving a complex puzzle box. The creature's tentacles moved with deliberate precision, each motion calculated and purposeful. Next to her, marine specialist Marcus Rodriguez made notes on his tablet. This one, Sarah said, pausing the footage. Specimen 247. She solved the sequential locking mechanism in under 3 minutes. Marcus nodded, pulling up the octopus's full profile. She also shows remarkable social intelligence, even recognizes different handlers by their walking patterns. The selection chamber's walls display their current roster, the octopus, now designated as their first choice, followed by several other candidates under review. 3 more slots remain to be filled. Dr. Chen. A voice called from the observation deck above. Dr. Emily Watson, their lead behavioral expert, was practically bouncing with excitement. You need to see this new footage from the Peregrine trials. The main display switched to a live feed from the testing facility. A Peregrine Falcon was demonstrating a new diving pattern they'd never seen before. A complex series of maneuvers that somehow maintained maximum speed while increasing precision. How did she figure that out? Marcus whispered, his eyes wide. She watched the other Falcons' attempts and improved on them. Emily explained, sending down the data. She's not just fast. She's learning and adapting. Sarah smiled. Add her to the roster. That's exactly the kind of intelligence we need to demonstrate. She turned to the third display, where their most controversial candidate was under consideration. How's our electric friend doing? The footage shifted to show an electric eel navigating a specially designed course. The readings were extraordinary. The eel wasn't just producing powerful electrical discharges, it was modulating them with incredible precision, using different frequencies for navigation, communication, and interaction. The Krixtal are expecting brute force, Sarah mused, watching the eel delicately manipulate a series of underwater sensors. They don't understand that Earth's creatures survived not by being the strongest, but by being the most adaptable. Their final selection proved the most challenging. The team had spent weeks debating it, until Sarah made an unexpected suggestion. The tardigrade, she said, bringing up microscopic footage of the tiny creature, not the most impressive-looking candidate, but possibly the most important. Her team exchanged glances. The water bear, as it was commonly known, was hardly what the Krixtal would expect. But its capabilities were undeniable, surviving conditions that would destroy most life forms, enduring extremes of temperature, pressure, and radiation that seemed impossible. It's perfect, Emily realized, understanding Sarah's strategy. We're not just showing them physical capabilities. We're showing them the true diversity of Earth's evolutionary solutions, Sarah finished. From the problem-solving octopus to the precision-flying falcon, from the bioelectric eel to the nearly indestructible tardigrade. Each one represents a different path to survival. The team spent the next hours finalizing their preparations. The selected creatures would need special transportation arrangements, carefully maintained environments, and a full support staff of handlers and veterinarians. The Krixtal's message asked for impressive specimens, Marcus said as they wrapped up. Are we sure this lineup will meet their expectations? Sarah's response was interrupted by an alert from the octopus's tank. Their 8-armed friend had not only solved the latest puzzle box, but had figured out how to help another octopus solve it too, demonstrating teaching behavior that shouldn't have been possible. I think, Sarah said, watching the octopuses work together, their expectations are about to be completely redefined. They wanted to see weapons. Instead, they're going to see something far more powerful, the endless creativity of Earth's evolutionary process. As the team began final preparations for transport, Sarah updated their mission statement, Project Objective, to demonstrate that Earth's creatures are not ultimate weapons, but ultimate innovators. The real lessons were about to begin. The Krixtal demonstration chamber hummed with anticipation. Crystalline observation platforms held delegates from 12 different species, all gathered to witness Earth's wildlife presentation. At the center of the chamber, Dr. Sarah Chen stood beside a seemingly simple clear enclosure, her calm demeanor masking her excitement. Honored delegates, she began, her words automatically translated by the chamber systems. We begin today with a demonstration of problem-solving capabilities. Please observe. The enclosure's contents became visible as the smart glass cleared. The giant Pacific octopus floated serenely, its tentacles moving in gentle patterns. Several crystal scientists leaned forward, their sensor arrays twisting with interest. The challenge, Sarah continued, is a series of interconnected puzzles. The reward is contained in the central chamber. Our participant has never seen this particular configuration before. The octopus immediately moved toward the first puzzle box, its color shifting slightly as it examined the mechanism. A crystal senior researcher raised an appendage. The specimen appears dormant. Perhaps it requires stimulation. Sarah smiled. Just watch. The octopus had already begun. Its tentacles moved with surgical precision, each one working independently yet in perfect coordination. The first lock clicked open in seconds. Without pausing, 3 tentacles began working on the second mechanism, while 2 more explored the third. Murmurs rippled through the audience as the octopus systematically dismantled security measures that had been designed to challenge sentient beings. When it encountered a new type of lock, it paused briefly, observed the mechanism, and then proceeded to solve it through a combination of approaches it had learned from previous puzzles. Impossible, whispered a crystal engineer. The specimen is displaying tool use, pattern recognition, and strategic planning simultaneously. The octopus reached the final chamber, but instead of claiming the reward, it did something unexpected. It reconfigured several of the puzzle elements, creating a new path to the center. It's improving the design, someone said in disbelief. Sarah nodded. Earth's creatures don't just solve problems. They innovate. This behavior isn't programmed or engineered. It's the result of natural evolution in an environment that rewards intelligence and adaptability. The octopus finally claimed its reward, celebrating with a brilliant color display. Several delegates flinched back, unused to such dramatic biological displays. But surely, a crystal scientist interjected, this is an exceptional specimen, carefully bred for these capabilities. Sarah gestured to her assistant, who brought up historical footage. This is from Earth's oceans, completely wild octopi displaying similar behaviors. In fact, we had to redesign our aquarium security systems because wild octopi kept figuring out how to escape. The chamber erupted in shocked discussions. The crystal delegation huddled together, their crystalline appendages clicking rapidly as they conversed. You mean to tell us, their lead scientist finally asked, that these problem-solving capabilities evolved naturally, without guidance? Earth's oceans created their own arms race of intelligence, Sarah explained. Predators got smarter, so prey had to get smarter too. This cycle repeated for millions of years, producing creatures that can adapt, learn, and even teach others. The octopus had finished its reward and was now watching the audience with obvious curiosity. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably under its intelligent gaze. And this, Sarah said, unable to keep a note of pride from her voice, is just our first demonstration. Wait until you see what our other Earth representatives can do. As if on cue, a soft trill echoed from the neighboring chamber where the peregrine falcon waited for its turn. The crystal delegation's sensor arrays all turned toward the sound, and Sarah could have sworn she saw a flicker of nervousness pass through their crystalline forms. They had expected to see weapons. Instead, they were witnessing something far more profound, the unlimited potential of natural evolution. And they were just getting started. The peregrine falcon's demonstration had left the observation chamber in stunned silence. Even now, as the electric eel's tank was being prepared, delegates kept glancing at the replay screens showing the falcon's incredible diving maneuvers. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez made final adjustments to the specialized sensors around the eel's enclosure. The crystal scientists had initially dismissed this demonstration, expecting simple bioelectric discharge. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The electric eel, Marcus began, represents another unique path in Earth's evolutionary journey. While other creatures developed physical weapons, this species mastered bioelectricity in ways our own technology is still trying to understand. The eel glided smoothly through its tank, its movements deliberate and precise. Marcus activated the first set of sensors, creating a three-dimensional hologram of the eel's electric field. Notice how it maintains multiple field types simultaneously, he explained. Navigation, communication, and detection all operating on different frequencies without interference. The crystal lead scientist, whose crystalline form had taken on a deeper blue hue of interest, moved closer to the display. The energy efficiency is remarkable. Our own bioengineering programs have never achieved such precision. Marcus nodded, triggering the next phase of the demonstration. A series of underwater targets appeared in the tank. The eel's electric field shifted instantly, creating complex patterns that the audience had never seen before. It's not just generating electricity, Emily Watson added from her monitoring station. It's processing complex spatial information and responding in real time. Watch this. The eel began navigating a maze of targets, its electric fields adapting with each movement. The holographic display showed how it used different frequencies to map its surroundings, communicate with the sensors, and maintain awareness of changes in its environment. The precision of control, a visiting physicist noted, it's using less energy than our most advanced systems while achieving better results. Marcus pulled up comparative data. Earth's creatures didn't develop these capabilities to be weapons. They evolved them to survive, communicate, and thrive in their environments. The efficiency comes from millions of years of natural refinement. The eel completed its course, then did something unexpected. It began creating complex electrical patterns that matched the sensor frequencies, effectively communicating with the testing system itself. It's learning your technology, the crystal scientist whispered, not just using its abilities, but adapting them to new situations. Dr. Sarah Chen stepped forward. That's the key point we've been trying to demonstrate. Earth's creatures aren't static. They're constantly learning, adapting, and finding new ways to use their natural abilities. The chamber's atmosphere had shifted dramatically since the first demonstration. Where the delegates had initially watched with skepticism, now they were taking detailed notes and engaging in serious scientific discussions. Our entire approach to bioengineering has been wrong, the crystal lead scientist admitted. We tried to design perfect systems, but nature had already created something far more sophisticated. Sarah shared a knowing look with her team. The delegates were finally beginning to understand. Earth's creatures weren't weapons to be copied or improved upon. They were the result of an endless process of natural innovation. Perhaps, a junior crystal researcher suggested, we should be studying how these capabilities evolved rather than trying to replicate them artificially. The eel continued its intricate dance with the sensor network, its bioelectric displays creating patterns of increasing complexity. In its graceful movements, the delegates saw not a weapon, but a masterpiece of natural engineering. As the demonstration concluded, Sarah prepared to introduce their final presenter. The tardigrade's demonstration would challenge everything the delegates thought they knew about survival capabilities. But more importantly, it would show them that true resilience came in all sizes, and that nature's solutions often defied their expectations. The journey from weapons assessment to scientific revelation was nearly complete. No one expected the environmental systems to fail during the tardigrade demonstration. As warning lights flashed across the chamber's crystalline walls, Dr. Emily Watson remained surprisingly calm, even as other delegates rushed to evacuate. "Please stay," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos. "This is actually the perfect opportunity to demonstrate our final participants' capabilities." The crystal lead scientist paused mid-evacuation. "The chamber's environmental controls are failing. Temperature and pressure will become extremely unstable." Emily smiled. "Exactly. And our little friend here thrives on extreme conditions." The main display activated, showing a microscopic view of the tardigrade as the chamber's environment began to shift. The tiny creature, barely visible to the naked eye, continued its activities without apparent concern. Current temperature dropping to -40 degrees, the facility's computer announced. Several delegates wrapped their environmental suits tighter. "The tardigrade doesn't just survive these conditions," Emily explained, adjusting the display's magnification. It has natural mechanisms that protect its cellular structure from damage. Watch what happens next. The temperature plummeted further. Ice crystals began forming on the chamber's walls, creating delicate patterns that would have been beautiful if they weren't so dangerous. The tardigrade simply entered a state of cryptobiosis, its metabolism slowing to near zero. "Impossible," whispered a crystal researcher, their crystalline form vibrating with excitement. Its cellular structure should be rupturing from ice formation. Dr. Sarah Chen stepped forward, her breath visible in the freezing air. The tardigrade produces special proteins that prevent ice crystal formation inside its cells. It can survive temperatures approaching absolute zero. The chamber's environmental systems continued to malfunction, now swinging toward the other extreme. As temperature and pressure rose dramatically, most of the observation equipment shut down to protect itself. "Now watch this," Emily said, her voice filled with pride. "It's going to demonstrate why we call it the most resilient creature on Earth." The microscopic display showed the tardigrade emerging from its cryptobiotic state, completely unharmed by the dramatic environmental shifts. As temperatures rose past the boiling point of water, it simply adapted its cellular protection mechanisms. "Your equipment," the crystal lead scientist noted, "is failing faster than this creature." Sarah nodded. "The tardigrade can survive conditions that would destroy most of our technology. Extreme temperatures, crushing pressures, radiation levels that would kill any other known life form. It simply adapts and continues." The chamber's backup systems finally engage, slowly restoring normal environmental conditions. As the emergency lights faded, the delegates gathered around the display in amazement. The tardigrade had survived conditions that would have been fatal to any of their engineered organisms. "We've spent centuries," the crystal scientist admitted, "trying to engineer life forms that could survive extreme conditions. Yet this tiny creature evolved these capabilities naturally." "Earth's history includes multiple extinction events," Emily explained. "The creatures that survived didn't just develop weapons, they developed incredible resilience. The tardigrade represents the ultimate expression of that evolutionary path." As the chamber returned to normal operations, the delegates began an intense discussion. The crystal scientists were particularly animated, their crystalline forms shifting through colors that indicated deep emotional engagement. "Perhaps," their lead scientist finally said, "we have been asking the wrong questions. We came seeking weapons, but instead we found something far more valuable: templates for survival itself." Sarah exchanged knowing looks with her team. The demonstration's unexpected challenge had proven more effective than any planned presentation. The delegates had witnessed firsthand that true power wasn't about destruction. It was about adaptation, resilience, and survival. As the facility's systems completed their reset, Emily began preparing the final data analysis. The tardigrade's performance during the crisis would provide invaluable research data. More importantly, it had shown the galaxy that sometimes the most impressive capabilities came in the smallest packages. Earth's creatures weren't ultimate weapons. They were ultimate survivors. The Crystal Research Facility's main conference chamber buzzed with activity as scientists from a dozen worlds gathered for the final analysis session. Holographic displays filled the air, showing data from all 4 demonstrations: the problem-solving octopus, the precision-flying falcon, the bioelectric eel, and the resilient tardigrade. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the center of it all, but this time she wasn't presenting. Instead, she listened as the crystal lead scientist addressed the assembly. "Our initial assessment was fundamentally flawed," they announced, their crystalline form shifting to deep blue tones of revelation. "We approached Earth's creatures as potential weapons to be studied and replicated. What we found instead was something far more valuable." The main display shifted to show comparative analysis between Earth's natural evolution and the crystal's bioengineering programs. The differences were striking. "Look at the efficiency ratings," a young crystal researcher pointed out. "Our most advanced engineered organisms show only a fraction of the adaptability we've witnessed here. The octopus alone displays problem-solving capabilities that outperform our best designs. Dr. Emily Watson stepped forward, adding her team's latest findings to the display. The key difference is the evolutionary process itself. Earth's creatures didn't develop their abilities to dominate. They developed them to survive and thrive in complex ecosystems. The chamber filled with excited discussion as scientists from different worlds began sharing their own observations. The Falcon's flight patterns were already inspiring new spacecraft maneuvering systems. The eel's bioelectric field control had prompted 3 different research teams to completely redesign their power management approaches. But the most significant discovery, the Crystal lead scientist continued, isn't about individual capabilities. It's about the process that created them. The display shifted to show Earth's evolutionary timeline, highlighting the multiple extinction events and environmental changes that had shaped its creatures. Each crisis, Sarah explained, served as a crucible for innovation. The creatures that survived didn't just endure. They adapted and evolved new ways to thrive. The tardigrade isn't extraordinary because it's indestructible. It's extraordinary because it found elegant solutions to seemingly impossible challenges. A senior researcher from another world stepped forward. We've been approaching biological engineering from the wrong direction entirely. Instead of trying to design perfect weapons, we should be studying how natural evolution creates perfect survivors. The Crystal delegation shared looks of agreement before their lead scientist made an unexpected announcement. In light of these findings, we are decommissioning our biological weapons program. Instead, we propose establishing an interstellar research initiative focused on studying and preserving natural evolutionary processes. The chamber erupted in supportive chaos. Scientists from multiple worlds immediately began volunteering resources and expertise. Plans for preservation programs and research exchanges filled the displays. Sarah watched it all with a quiet smile, remembering how differently this gathering had started. Her team had come prepared to defend Earth's creatures from exploitation. Instead, they had sparked a scientific revolution. Dr. Chen, the crystal scientist, approached her, their crystalline form glowing with earnest enthusiasm. Would Earth be willing to host the first collaborative research station? There is so much we could learn from your world's evolutionary laboratory. On one condition, Sarah replied. The research must benefit all species, including the creatures we study. We're not looking to create new weapons or tools. We're looking to understand and preserve the incredible diversity that natural evolution has created. The crystal scientist's form sparkled with agreement. From weapons assessment to preservation initiative, your Earth creatures have taught us more than we ever expected to learn. As the scientists began drafting the formal research proposal, Sarah sent a message back to Earth. It contained just 3 words: mission accomplished. Differently. They had come to demonstrate weapons. They had ended up demonstrating wisdom. Senior archivist Zex 427 stood at the observation window of Earth's first Interstellar Wildlife Research Center, watching a group of human children press their faces against the glass of the octopus exhibit. The creature inside, a descendant of the original demonstration specimen, was showing younger octopi how to solve increasingly complex puzzle systems. Fascinating, isn't it? Dr. Elena Martinez approached, carrying a tablet filled with the latest research data. They've developed their own teaching methodologies. We're still trying to understand how they pass knowledge between generations. When I first reviewed Earth's wildlife data, Zex 427 admitted, their sensor clusters twitching with amusement. I thought our systems were malfunctioning. I never imagined I'd be here, seeing it all firsthand. The research center had grown far beyond its original scope. What started as a simple collaboration had evolved into the galaxy's premier facility for studying natural evolution. The main atrium now featured habitats from 12 different worlds, each showcasing unique evolutionary solutions to survival challenges. The Crystal delegation arrives tomorrow, Elena said, pulling up the schedule. They're bringing samples from their restoration project. Their scientists have successfully reactivated dormant genetic lines from their world's pre-engineering era. Zex 427 moved to the next observation window, where the Peregrine Falcon demonstration was about to begin. A small crowd had gathered, including several alien scientists wearing environmental suits. "Watch this," Elena smiled. "They've learned something new." The Falcon launched into its dive, but instead of following the traditional pattern, it demonstrated a hybrid technique that combined its natural abilities with principles learned from studying spacecraft dynamics. The result was a maneuver that neither nature nor technology alone had achieved. Adaptation, Zex 427 noted. Not just surviving, but incorporating new knowledge while maintaining their natural grace. They moved through the facility, passing the Eel Research Station, where bioelectric principles were being studied for sustainable energy solutions, and the Tardigrade Laboratory, where scientists worked to understand extreme survival mechanisms that could protect future space explorers. Has the Galactic Archives updated Earth's classification? Elena asked as they reached the center's data core. Several times, Zex 427 replied, their form shifting to display proud colors. The current entry reads, Earth, Evolutionary Crucible, and Guardian of Natural Innovation. Quite a change from its initial weapon potential assessment. A commotion from the octopus exhibit drew their attention. The lead specimen had not only solved the latest puzzle system, but had found 3 alternative solutions, each more efficient than the last. The observing scientists scrambled to document the unprecedented problem-solving approach. "You know," Elena said thoughtfully, "we never did find the ultimate weapon they were looking for. Didn't we?" Zex 427 gestured to the facility around them. "Look at what Earth's creatures have accomplished. They've united scientists across the galaxy, revived extinct species on multiple worlds, and shown us that true strength lies in adaptation and cooperation, not destruction." The center's daily update began broadcasting through the facility. New discoveries scrolled across multiple displays. Breakthrough insights into cellular regeneration from studying planarian worms, revolutionary space hull designs inspired by beetle shells, and sustainable energy systems based on photosynthesis patterns. Perhaps, Zex 427 concluded, watching the human children now excitedly discussing the octopus's demonstration with young crystal observers, the ultimate weapon was never about fighting at all. It was about teaching us how to grow beyond our limitations. Elena smiled as another round of amazed gasps echoed from the observation area. Earth's creatures weren't ultimate weapons. They were ultimate teachers, showing us that the greatest power lies not in domination, but in the endless ability to adapt, learn, and evolve together. The facility's lights dimmed slightly as the day cycle began to shift, but the work continued. In labs and habitats throughout the center, life from Earth and beyond demonstrated again and again that nature's greatest achievement wasn't creating weapons, but creating possibilities.